Module 4, Making Strong Agreements, the story. In this module, I'm going to talk about making strong agreements, which I believe is another fundamental part of good leadership. I think we're more inclined to make weak agreements and then complain about the result. And I believe there are 4 areas that support making strong agreements. These are: make a clear request and be specific as you can be. Offer support to make it happen. Confirmation by the other person on what has been agreed. And test how likely it is that that required result will actually be achieved. As an example, a typical transactional agreement sounds like this. So John, I'd like a bag of apples, please. And John replies, okay, could you be a little bit more specific, Steve? I respond, okay, I'd like a green bag of apples, and if I can get them on Friday sometime, that would be great. John's comeback is, sure, I can get you a bag of apples for Friday, Steve. So there you go, job done. That's an agreement made. Or is it though? There's a lot of tail action and there's not a lot of buy-in or conversation around the task. This can often land in disappointment because either John forgets having had so little buy-in to the project, or instead of apples, you get a question on Friday about apples that you should have got. Making a strong agreement takes a little bit more time, but is a much higher level of success. It has 4 components to it. Number 1 is be specific in the ask. So John, I'd like a bag of apples for Friday, please. Okay, Steve. So apples for Friday. What sort of colour would you like? Well, I'd like green apples, please, John. Okay, sure. I'll get you a bag of apples for Friday. This moves on to step 2, the offer of support regardless of the response you get. Okay, so what do you need from me, John, to make sure I get my bag of apples? Well, you know, I'm busy, Steve. Yeah, John, I know. We're all busy. So how can I help you? Or how can I help you? Well, what would help is if you could skip the meeting we've planned for this afternoon. I could then focus on ordering the apples for you. How does that sound? Yes, sure, John. You can skip the meeting if that will help me get my apples. Yeah, sure, Steve. That'll work great. Then you go on to step 3, confirmation by the other person on what you've just agreed to. John, can you confirm to me what we just talked about? What we agreed to? Sure, I'm going to get you a bag of apples by Friday. They're going to be green, and come to think of it, and being more specific, what time on Friday do you need them by? So each of these things are getting more specific. Yeah, well, 10 o'clock, please, John. Okay, a bag of apples, they're green, aren't they, Steve? Yeah, they're green, John. So a bag of green apples by 10 o'clock on Friday. And come to think of it, is it a big bag of apples? Yes, I'd like a big bag of apples. It's a big pie I'm baking because I'm having people around. Okay, got it. That will work. This takes you to step 4. Testing how likely it is that the required result will be achieved. So just before you leave the conversation, check back in. So John, so that I can get back to work, can we just check the likelihood of my getting a big bag of green apples on Friday before 10 o'clock? 1 is it's never going to happen, and 10 is absolutely nailed it. 7, Steve? It never ceases to amaze me how often that score is someplace in the middle. I think I've made a really strong agreement. I think we spent enough time in it, but it is about a 7. So then you go back into the process again. Okay, what do you need from me to get the likelihood of a 10 or to a 10? Then it's just about working this through until you get to a 10. So to recap, there are 4 steps in making a strong agreement. These are: make a clear request and be as specific as you can be. Offer support to make it happen. Get the other person to confirm what has been agreed to, and test how likely it is that the required result will happen.